Every year, millions of tourists fly into Jamaica and never actually leave the resort. They get the beach, the buffet, and the poolside reggae set. They fly home believing they have experienced Jamaica. But the Jamaica that Jamaicans actually live in, where 2.8 million people build their days around community, food, faith, music, and a language that sounds like pure rhythm, that Jamaica is almost entirely invisible to the outside world. Today, we are going beyond the tourism brochure. This is what life is really like in Jamaica. Part 1. The island the world gets wrong. Jamaica is a small island, just over 10,900 square kilometers in the Greater Antilles of the Caribbean, sitting south of Cuba and east of the Cayman Islands. But its cultural footprint is massively disproportionate to its physical size. Reggae, dancehall, athletics, Bob Marley, Usain Bolt, the fastest human being in the history of recorded time. From a population of under 3 million people, Jamaica has produced a volume of global culture that would be extraordinary coming from a continent, let alone a single island. Yet the international image of Jamaica remains stubbornly two-dimensional: white sand, turquoise water, dreadlocks, and Bob Marley. The reality is far more complex, far more textured, and far more fascinating. Jamaica has a deep and painful colonial history, a resilient spirit forged through centuries of resistance and struggle, and a contemporary culture that is loud, opinionated, deeply spiritual, and constantly evolving. Part 2. Patois, the real language of Jamaica. Walk through any Jamaican community and the first thing that hits you is the language. English is Jamaica's official language, used in government, law courts, and formal education. But the language that actually runs Jamaica on a daily basis is Jamaican Patois, or Patois. And despite decades of colonial dismissal, it is not bad English or broken English. Linguists classify it as a distinct Creole language with its own grammar and syntax. Patois' vocabulary is primarily English-derived, but its structure and sound patterns draw heavily from West African languages, with additional influences from Spanish, Portuguese, Irish, and Scottish. A 2007 survey by the Jamaican Language Unit found that around 36% of Jamaicans were monolingual Patois speakers, while 46% were bilingual, switching fluidly between Patois and Standard English depending on the situation, the person, and the context. That fluidity is itself a form of cultural intelligence. Patois is the language of reggae and dancehall. It is the language of Louise Bennett, Miss Lou, the beloved poet and folklorist who spent her entire career arguing that Patois was not a lesser dialect but a legitimate and sophisticated cultural expression worthy of serious literature and scholarship. It is the language in which Jamaicans express their sharpest humor, their deepest grief, their most tender love, and their strongest political anger. To understand Patois is to understand Jamaica at a frequency no guidebook can tune you into. Part 3. Food, the soul of Jamaican culture. Jamaican food is one of the great underrated cuisines on the planet, and anyone who has eaten it properly, not the resort version, but the real thing, knows exactly what that means. The national dish is ackee and saltfish. Ackee, a fruit that resembles and tastes something like scrambled egg when cooked properly, paired with salted codfish, onions, tomatoes, Scotch bonnet peppers, and allspice. It is a breakfast dish that carries Jamaica's entire history in a single plate: ackee brought from West Africa during the slave trade, salt cod shipped from Canada and Britain as cheap protein for enslaved people, and a combination that became uniquely and beautifully Jamaican. Then there is jerk, Jamaica's extraordinary contribution to global barbecue culture. Jerk seasoning, built around Scotch bonnet peppers and allspice, locally called pimento, was originally developed by the Maroons, the free African communities who had escaped slavery and lived independently in Jamaica's Blue Mountains for centuries. Slow-smoked over pimento wood in purpose-built jerk pits, jerk chicken or pork develops a flavor complexity that no modern gas grill can come close to replicating. The jerk pit is a Jamaican social institution, a gathering place where people eat, argue, talk politics, fall in love, and debate everything from cricket to dancehall. Other essential dishes include curry goat, a legacy of Jamaica's South Asian immigrant community, whose curry traditions fused brilliantly with Caribbean spices, slow-stewed oxtail, rice and peas cooked in coconut milk and thyme, festival, sweet fried dough served alongside jerk, and the Jamaican beef patty, golden pastry filled with spiced meat that has become a Jamaican diaspora staple from London to Toronto to New York to Tokyo. Part 4. Faith and Community, the backbone of Jamaican life. Jamaica is among the most church-dense countries in the world, with more churches per square mile than almost any nation on earth. Anglican, Catholic, Baptist, Pentecostal, Methodist, Seventh-day Adventist. The denominational landscape is rich and the congregations are loyal and active. Sunday morning in any Jamaican community is marked by gospel music floating through open windows and the sound of choir practice starting hours before the service. Church is not simply a religious institution in Jamaica, it is a community anchor, a social hub, and for many families, the most stable and consistently available institution in their lives. Beyond mainstream Christianity, Jamaica is home to spiritual traditions that blend Christian faith with African heritage, revivalism and kumina, which incorporate ancestor communication, sacred drumming, and spirit possession into their practice. And then there is Rastafari, the spiritual and cultural movement that emerged in the 1930s, built on Black consciousness, African identity, and the belief in the divinity of Emperor Haile Selassie. Rastafarianism gave Jamaica its most globally recognized aesthetic, the dreadlocks, the red, gold, and green, the cannabis sacrament, and shaped its music profoundly. What is interesting is that despite Rastafari's total dominance of Jamaica's international image, practicing Rastafarians represent a relatively small percentage of the actual Jamaican population. At the absolute center of Jamaican life is family, extended, vocal, deeply bonded, and frequently opinionated. Large family gatherings, particularly around food, are the social core of Jamaican culture. The concept of the yard, the home and its immediate community, creates a web of obligation and mutual support that functions as an informal social safety net in communities where formal institutional resources may be limited. Part 5. Sport, Identity, and what Jamaica means to itself. Sport is religion in Jamaica, and Jamaica's relationship with athletic excellence is not accidental, it is structural. Cricket, introduced during British colonial rule, became a vehicle for post-independence Caribbean identity, and the West Indies cricket team became one of the most powerful cultural symbols of the era. Chris Gayle, the universe boss from Kingston streets, carried that flag with the full flamboyance and power that Jamaica itself embodies. Then there is sprinting. Jamaica is, per capita, the most successful sprint nation in the history of athletics. Usain Bolt, the most decorated and fastest sprinter of all time, is not an anomaly but the supreme expression of a culture that has been producing world-class runners for generations. The Jamaican Inter-School Athletics Championships, known universally as Champs, is one of the most competitive high school track meets anywhere on earth, producing Olympic athletes year after year as a matter of routine. For Jamaicans, athletic excellence is not surprising. It is an expectation and a source of profound national pride. Jamaica gained independence from Britain on August 6, 1962, and the pride of that independence runs through everything, through the music, the food, the language, and the way Jamaicans carry themselves in every country they have settled in. The national motto is, "Out of many, one people," a reflection of the island's complex heritage as a meeting point of African, European, and Asian cultures. But for most Jamaicans, identity is not complicated. It is felt, it is worn, it is sung, it is cooked, and it is spoken in a language that the world is still working to properly understand. Jamaica is a country that has been misread, packaged, and exported for decades. The music the world knows. The athletes the world celebrates. The beaches the world photographs. But the real Jamaica, the one that wakes up with the roosters, goes to market, argues about cricket and politics, sings gospel on Sunday, dances to dance hall on Saturday, switches between patois and English in a single sentence, and finds joy in the middle of difficulty, that Jamaica is the one worth truly knowing. It is a place that has survived slavery, colonialism, poverty, and the relentless simplification of the tourist gaze, and emerged with more music, more resilience, and more cultural power than almost any nation on the planet. That is not a small island. That is a force of nature.